I used to avoid mirrors and bright light because my hair made me look 10 years older than I felt. Nobody told me the truth. It wasn't my age doing that. It was the cut. The right haircut can lift your whole face, soften every line, and make silver hair look rich instead of tired. And today I'm showing you 7 cuts that do exactly that for women over 60. I researched the worst style and beauty mistakes and the best fixes for women over 50 so you get real results fast. If you haven't already, hit subscribe. I cover this every week. Part 1. The 2 cuts that soften your face instantly. Here's something most stylists won't say out loud. The haircut you've had for the last 15 years is probably the reason people guess your age wrong, in the wrong direction. Hair that hangs flat and blunt past your jaw pulls everything down with it. Your cheeks look heavier. Your jawline looks softer in the bad way. And most of us don't even notice it happening because we see our hair in the mirror every single day, and slow change is invisible up close. The first cut that changes this completely is the soft layered bob with face-framing pieces. This isn't the severe, chin-length bob from a decade ago. This is a bob that lands somewhere between the jaw and the collarbone, with soft internal layers that remove weight exactly where it's dragging your face down, and 2 longer pieces left at the front that curve gently along your cheekbones. Here's why it works on a mechanical level. As we get older, our face naturally loses some volume along the cheeks and jaw. A blunt, heavy haircut with no movement emphasizes that hollowing because it creates a hard, flat line right where your face has softened. Layers do the opposite. They create movement and light catching at different points, which visually fills in what's been lost and draws the eye up toward your eyes and cheekbones instead of down toward your jaw. Ask for this specifically. Request layers that start no higher than your cheekbone, never at the crown, because crown layers on this length create a triangle shape that widens the face instead of softening it. Ask for the front pieces to be cut at a slight angle, longer near your ear and shortest near your chin, so they curve inward naturally instead of sticking straight out. The result shows up almost immediately. Women tell me strangers stop guessing their age within 5 years either direction, because a soft-framed bob reads as intentional and current rather than however my hair happened to grow out. It's a small technical change with a disproportionate visual payoff. The second cut in this part solves a different problem, thinning strands and lost density, especially through the crown and temples, which is one of the most common and most quietly upsetting changes that happens to hair after 60. The fix here is the long layered shag with a curtain fringe. A shag sounds intimidating, like something out of the 70s, but the modern version is much gentler. It's built from long, feathered layers throughout the length, combined with a fringe that splits softly down the center and sweeps to either side of the face rather than sitting as a blunt line across the forehead. Here's the part that actually matters for thinning hair. Heavy, blunt layers weigh hair down, and weighed down thin hair looks even thinner because it clings flat to the scalp. Feathered, textured layers do the opposite. They create separated pieces that catch light at different angles, which the eye reads as fullness and movement even when the actual strand count hasn't changed. This is the single biggest trick professional colorists and cutters use for aging hair, and it's almost never explained plainly to clients. The curtain fringe adds a second benefit most women don't expect. It visually lifts the eye area, because it sweeps up and away from the brow rather than sitting flat against it. It opens the whole upper face instead of shadowing it. Combined with the feathered length, this cut takes hair that reads as thin, flat, and tired, and turns it into something that reads as soft, healthy, and deliberately styled. I've seen this exact combination, feathered shag plus curtain fringe, take 5 to 8 years off how a woman is perceived at first glance. And it has nothing to do with color or makeup. It's purely the shape and the movement. Picture the difference. Before, hair pulled flat and heavy against a tired, thinning crown, reading older than her actual years. After, the same hair reshaped into soft, feathered layers with a lifted fringe, reading vibrant, current, and rich. That's the swap this part delivers. But there's a third mistake hiding underneath both of these cuts. One that has nothing to do with length or layers, and everything to do with a single haircut decision most women make without even realizing it's a decision at all. Part 2. The cut that fixes the mistake nobody notices until it's too late. That mistake is keeping length purely out of habit, long after your hair's texture and density have already changed. Nobody sits you down one day and tells you your hair has thinned. It happens gradually, over years, and because it's gradual, most of us just keep booking the same length we've always had, never stopping to ask whether that length still makes sense for the hair we actually have now, not the hair we had at 40. This is where the textured pixie with a side-swept fringe comes in. And I want to be honest, this is the cut women resist the most, and it's also the one that surprises them the most once they actually try it. The reason it works starts with a basic truth about hair physics. Longer hair is heavier, and weight pulls against volume. If your hair has thinned at all, even slightly, length actively fights against the fullness you're trying to create. A textured pixie removes that weight entirely, without gravity dragging every strand down. Hair that felt thin and defeated suddenly has room to lift, especially at the crown and through the sides. The side-swept fringe is the part that keeps this cut from looking severe. A pixie with a straight, short fringe can look harsh on a mature face. It exposes the whole forehead at once. But a fringe that's cut longer and swept diagonally across one side does something completely different. It creates a soft diagonal line that draws the eye across the face at an angle, which is far more flattering than a straight horizontal line cutting the forehead in half. Here's the detail that makes the difference between a pixie that ages someone and one that takes years off: texture. Ask specifically for point cutting or texturizing shears through the ends, not just a blunt trim. Point cutting breaks up the solid edge of each layer, creating soft, irregular tips instead of one uniform line. On mature hair, this texture reads as effortless and current. Without it, a short cut can look stiff, almost helmet-like, which is exactly the aged look most women are trying to avoid. There's a confidence shift that comes with this cut that I hear about constantly. Women who finally cut into a textured pixie tell me they stop touching their hair anxiously throughout the day, because for the first time in years it actually holds shape without effort. That kind of ease changes how you carry yourself in a room. And that shows on your face as much as the haircut itself does. Let's talk styling, because this is where most pixies fail at home. The mistake is combing it flat and smooth, the way you'd style longer hair. That's the wrong instinct entirely. A textured pixie needs to be dried with your fingers, not a brush, lifting at the roots as you go. Then finish with a small amount of matte paste worked only through the ends to separate the pieces. Smoothing it down erases every bit of the lift and texture the cut was built to create. One more thing worth saying plainly: this cut requires more frequent trims, roughly every 4 to 6 weeks, because the shape depends on precision at the edges. That upkeep is the trade-off for the dramatic lift it gives you. For a lot of women, that trade is absolutely worth it once they see the difference in the mirror. Before, hair kept long purely out of habit, thin and heavy, fighting gravity with every step. After, a textured pixie with a swept fringe, light, lifted, and finally working with her hair instead of against it. That contrast alone convinces most skeptics. Now, if a pixie still feels like too big a leap, there are 2 cuts coming up that give you almost the same lift and lightness, without losing nearly as much length. Here's what those look like. Part 3. The middle ground cuts that give you lift without losing length. If the pixie made you wince a little, you're not alone. Most women want the lightness without saying goodbye to being able to pull their hair back. So let's talk about the 2 cuts that split the difference, because they solve the exact same volume and movement problems the pixie solves, just with several more inches of hair to work with. The first is the voluminous lob, a long bob that sits right around the collarbone, cut and finished with a very specific detail most stylists skip unless you ask for it directly. Root lift through the crown using a combination of strategic layering and a diagonal cutting technique called point cutting at the root line, not just the ends. Here's the problem this solves. A standard lob, cut with one uniform blunt line, tends to sit heavy and flat against the head, especially through the crown where most of us start to lose density first. Without any internal shaping, all that hair just falls straight down under its own weight. And flat hair at the crown is one of the fastest visual signals of aging hair, because it removes the natural rounded fullness a younger scalp typically has. The fix is layers cut short enough at the crown that they can't lie flat. They physically have nowhere to go but up and out, which creates lift from underneath the visible top layer. Combined with a slightly angled outer line that's longer in the front than the back, the whole shape reads fuller and more dynamic without sacrificing the length that makes a lob so versatile for pulling back, styling straight, or wearing wavy. Ask your stylist for this exact phrase. Internal layering with root lift through the crown, longer front pieces. That phrasing tells them precisely what you want instead of leaving it to guesswork, which is often where a good idea turns into a disappointing haircut. The second cut in this part is for a slightly different situation. Genuinely fine hair that's lost most of its natural body, not just flattened by weight, but actually thin strand by strand. For that texture, the rounded bob with soft internal layers, cut just above the shoulder with a subtle undercut layer hidden underneath the visible top section, is the better fit. The undercut layer is the secret weapon here, and it's genuinely something most women have never heard of. It means a short, invisible layer is cut into the underneath section of the hair, hidden completely beneath the top layer when it falls naturally. That hidden layer removes bulk and weight from underneath, while leaving the visible top layer smooth and rounded, which gives fine hair a fuller, more structured silhouette without adding a single visible layer line anywhere on the surface. It's essentially volume you can't see the mechanics of, only the result. The rounded shape itself matters too. A rounded, slightly curved silhouette through the ends softens the whole face in a way a sharp, geometric line simply doesn't. On fine hair especially, that curve adds the illusion of thickness because it creates one continuous, unbroken shape instead of scattered wispy ends that show every gap in density. Both of these cuts share the same underlying goal as the pixie, removing weight exactly where it's dragging hair down, and creating structure exactly where volume has been lost. They just do it while keeping several extra inches of length intact. That's the real difference between all three of these cuts and a random trip to a salon with no plan. It's not really about the length at all. It's about where the weight is removed and where the lift is built in. Picture the shift. Before, a flat, heavy lob with no lift, sitting lifeless against a thinning crown. After, the same length reshaped with internal layering and root lift, full and rounded from the crown down. That's the transformation this part delivers, and it's one of the easiest to ask for by name at your very next appointment. There's one more detail almost nobody asks about at the salon chair. The fringe itself, and specifically, how it's positioned relative to your face shape. Get this wrong, and even a beautifully cut fringe can add years instead of removing them. Part 4. The fringe detail that softens every face shape. Here's something a stylist told me once, almost in passing, that completely changed how I think about fringes on mature faces. A fringe cut at the wrong angle for your face shape can visually lower your eyebrows and shorten your forehead in a way that reads as tired, no matter how good the rest of the haircut is. Most women never hear this, because most stylists are so focused on the length of the fringe that they skip the angle entirely. The fix is the wispy side-parted fringe, soft, feathered pieces that start from a deep side part rather than a fringe that begins straight across the center of the forehead. This single positioning change solves a problem that a lot of women don't even consciously notice they have. As we age, our eyebrows naturally sit a touch lower, and our forehead can appear shorter due to subtle shifts in facial structure and skin. A straight-across fringe, especially a blunt one, sits right at that lowered brow line and visually shortens the whole upper face even further. A deep side part changes the geometry entirely. Instead of a straight horizontal line pressing down across the whole forehead, the fringe becomes a diagonal sweep that starts high on one side and tapers longer toward the other. That diagonal line does the opposite of a straight one. It visually lengthens the upper face and lifts the eye up and across, rather than pinning it down at brow level. The wispy texture matters just as much as the angle. Ask for the fringe to be cut with a razor or heavily texturized with point cutting shears, so the ends are soft and feathered rather than one solid, blunt edge. A blunt fringe on mature skin can look severe and draw attention to any texture or fine lines right at the hairline, while a soft, feathered fringe blurs that transition and reads as effortless instead of harsh. Here's the detail that actually determines whether this fringe flatters you specifically. Where your natural part already falls. If you already part your hair to one side, that's almost always the correct side for this fringe too, because working with your hair's natural fall means less daily styling effort and a more consistent result day to day. Fighting your natural part with a fringe swept the opposite direction is one of the most common reasons a fringe won't behave. When the real issue was never the cut at all, it was the direction. This fringe also solves a practical problem a lot of women bring up. Needing something low maintenance that still updates the whole haircut. Because it's cut soft and feathered rather than sharp and precise, It doesn't demand daily styling attention the way a blunt, structured fringe does. A quick pass with your fingers or a soft round brush while blow-drying is usually all it takes to settle it back into place. The result reads as an entirely refreshed haircut, even if the rest of your length and layers stay exactly the same. That's actually the appeal for a lot of women. This is the lowest commitment change on this whole list, and it's often the one that gets the most immediate compliments, because it directly lifts and softens the exact part of the face people look at first, before a straight, blunt fringe sitting flat across a lowered brow line, aging the whole upper face. After a soft, wispy side-swept fringe lifting the eyes and lengthening the forehead. That single detail, done correctly, changes more than most people expect from something this small. There's one last cut left, and it's the one I saved for the end on purpose, because it's the one that combines everything you've just learned into a single, richer, more elegant finished look. Part 5. The final cut that pulls everything together. Here's the confession behind this last one. For years I skipped this cut entirely because I thought it required hair I simply didn't have the patience to grow out. I was wrong, and once I understood why, I felt a little silly for avoiding it as long as I did. This final cut is the shoulder-length shag with face-framing balayage, and it's the one I consider the most elegant option on this entire list, because it combines the movement of the layered shag from earlier with a coloring technique that makes the whole cut look intentionally rich rather than simply gray or graying. Let's start with the cut itself. This is a shag built at shoulder length, with long, feathered layers throughout, similar in spirit to the cut from part 1, but with the layers built slightly softer and less choppy, aiming for elegance over edge. The face framing pieces are cut a touch longer here, landing near the collarbone rather than the cheekbone, which creates a softer, more graceful line for women who want movement without quite as much drama around the face. Now here's where this cut becomes something genuinely different from everything else on this list: the balayage. Balayage is a hand-painted coloring technique where lighter tones are swept onto the hair freehand, rather than using foils for uniform, all-over color. On mature hair, especially hair that's transitioning to gray or already silver, face-framing balayage does something remarkable. It adds soft, warm dimension exactly around the face, which is the area that most affects how healthy and vibrant your whole complexion looks. The technical reason this works is about how light interacts with tone. Flat, single-tone hair color, whether that's a solid dye job or natural gray with no variation, reflects light uniformly, which can read as dull or heavy depending on the lighting. Balayage introduces subtle variation. Some pieces slightly lighter, some pieces closer to the natural base tone, which catches light differently across the surface of the hair. That variation is what reads as rich, rather than flat. And it's the exact quality high-end salon color always has that at-home color usually lacks. For women with hair that's already fully silver or white, this technique still works beautifully. Instead of adding lighter warm tones, your stylist can use a very subtle low-light technique instead, weaving in slightly deeper pieces to create the same dimensional effect from the other direction. The principle is identical. Variation reads as richness, uniformity reads as flat, and that holds true whether your hair is dark, gray, or fully silver. Here's the practical detail that makes this combination work so well long-term. Because the balayage is hand-painted and concentrated mainly around the face rather than applied uniformly through the whole head, the grow-out is genuinely soft and gradual. There's no harsh line at the roots the way there is with traditional all-over color, which means fewer salon visits purely for touch-ups, and a look that stays elegant even a few months out from your last appointment. The result of pairing this shag with face-framing balayage is a haircut that does everything the earlier cuts do individually: lift movement, soften framing around the face, but adds a layer of visual richness through color that makes the whole look feel finished, deliberate, and quietly luxurious, rather than simply shorter or lighter. Before, flat, single-tone hair with heavy, undefined layers reading dull under any light. After, a feathered shoulder-length shag with soft, hand-painted balayage framing the face, catching light and reading rich and elegant from every angle. Of everything on this list, this is the one that consistently gets the most comments the very same week. 7 cuts, 7 different problems solved, and every single one of them starts the same way. Knowing exactly what to ask for by name, instead of hoping your stylist reads your mind. You now know exactly which cut fixes which problem, the layered bob and shag for softening your face, the pixie for reclaiming lift when length starts working against you, the lob and rounded bob for volume without losing length, the wispy side fringe for lifting tired eyes, and the balayage shag for pulling it all together into something rich and elegant. That's real, specific knowledge most women never get handed this plainly. Tell me in the comments, which of these 7 cuts matches what your hair actually needs right now? Next time, I'm breaking down the exact color mistakes that make silver and gray hair look dull instead of luminous. Like this video, subscribe to Timeless Wisdom Path, and I'll see you in the next one.